matters business. And the Africa Continental Free Trade Area will first be realized on e-commerce platforms as countries who had signed the agreement look to forging business-to-business connections traders. Now, Kenya Trade Network Agency CEO Ishmael Bet says this will open up Kenyan businesses to a 1.3 billion people market, revolutionizing trade without the involvement of infrastructure, which was the biggest deterrent to business between countries. He backside with more.
After the Africa Continental Free Trade Area was forged in 2018, very little progress has been achieved, with the signatory governments convening occasionally to flash out issues hampering this trade. One of the main deterrents was a lack of connecting infrastructure that hampered movement of goods and people. This, topped with policy differences, made it close to impossible for Kenyan businesses to advance further than the country's borders.
The existing structure, our manufacturing or our B2B commerce in general, has been operating for ages in a certain way, relying on distribution networks. And it's hard for them to jump straight away into a direct trade between the manufacturing and the retailer. So they're still hesitating a lot. I mean, the manufacturing themselves, the manufacturers and other wholesalers, I mean the suppliers.
To make the facilitation easier to get onto those platforms and do the administration for you, so that you only have to worry about actually your transactions and no longer about how will I arrange the logistics, but also the customs and the taxes and all the other part and the paperwork that comes with it. So.
E-commerce has now been identified as the solution for better business-to-business connections within the continent, ensuring cohesive movement of goods and virtual value chains.
As Frank already said, we first start with the demand, creating demand. If we do not start with creating demand, people will not want to ship because there's nothing to ship, right? So we started that aspect. The second part is, of course, trying to use the platform and see how much we can ease all the issues for transport and other things using technology solutions to ease the issues that you encounter as a merchant or a buyer.
The success depends on the way the whole ecosystem, everybody comes together to make a new technology work. We have a platform. But if the sellers do not trust us enough to sell on the platform, we won't have business. So the magic we hope to happen won't never happen.
They say this will revolutionize investment promotion, allowing for potential mergers and acquisitions within borders. Hibak Said for TV47.
Right, and even as we live in a whole digital world of buying and selling, goods via online, without the whole matters of infrastructure, as they're rightfully putting it, and these two gentlemen right here with us, just to that particular story forming the basis of this conversation, Frank Obambi, CEO Zandaux. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Or as the French say, bienvenue.
Merci.
Je parlais en français un peu. This is me ensuring that my French teacher sees that I am using my French properly. Karibu sana. As well as Dennis Juma, CTO of the same company, Zandaux. I think I should look for you guys later. I get this hoodie. Though a black one, though.
Please.
And for a gentleman, a white wouldn't really... Anyway, let's talk money matters and the whole business. First of all, for the basis of it, as the CEO, what is Zandaux?
Zandaux is a platform, is a solution designed to make sure that we can help our traders really do the trade in the most efficient way, like we do actually everywhere in the world today, which is not happening in Africa. It's a solution that we bring to bring a little more like efficiency in the way we trade, because the inefficiency in trade in Africa doesn't only start with cross-borders exchange of goods and services within countries. You only need to look into the way the retailers or the institutional buyers acquire their inventory or their product from the producer. If you look into the supply chain within a country, even when we are here in Nairobi, you will start saying, oh my God, what's going on here? So this is the efficiency we bring in our leaning on that supply chain.
And the fact that it was launched yesterday, so I mean, this is you saying, even as Kenyans, we should really be expecting to revolutionize how e-commerce is done in Kenya.
Kenya is the market that we started. We've been working, working to launch this platform since 2020 in Kenya. And only in 2022, March, we officially started to onboard the vendors on the platform. So yesterday, the launch was more like, hey, we are here already working. Please join us.
All right. I'll get back to you to know how the 2 years has been from since 2020 until right now. But then, I mean, how was Zandaux? How did it come to be? Talk to us about the whole birth of it, the whole idea of even having this particular platform.
So would refer to to at least Frank for this question, because he is at the heart of the purpose and to start it. I joined in as I saw his purpose and his dream to ensure that we could increase the trade within Africa, and that really will help also to open up the economic market of the whole of Africa to everyone. Which would really help also to solve issues in the wealth distribution, right? If anybody has access to the market, you will get much more opportunities to create your own wealth. And I came in because Frank was also looking to be able to provide the digital tools for everyone to be able to do this. And using digital tools and making capabilities on the platform is really where we solve the issues of all the potentially bureaucracy and also all the administration that everybody has to do. So by trying to solve a lot of things through the use of digital means, we can offer lower the barriers that normally you have to enter the market. So, and first we have started, of course, with things like inventory and joining a platform and having exposure and just being on the internet. But we hope to also be able to provide more solutions to lower also the barriers in the administrative parts that are due to regulations and financial transactions. So that it really gets easy to trade within Africa, including logistics. Yeah.
And on that, we even talk about rules and regulations, because you'd find about 54 countries in Africa. Each country has its own rules. They have their own way of doing things. But as much as we have been in a decade of the whole digital era, a decade ago, back in around 2012 there, the whole digital, I mean, telling someone that you can actually buy the goods online, they're looking at like, how possible is that really? I mean, I have to be there physically. And right now, there are people who really have that mentality. How easy has it been, when you talk about, when you even talk to different African countries, have African countries accepted e-commerce really?
Well, we're getting there. So we're seeing more and more, at least transactions going through the platform. So it's increasing, and we have to do our best to build the trust, right? It's the same as in all the other countries. If we don't ensure we have trust on the platform, then people will not use it.
All right.
So that's key in our platform, to ensure that we have trust and we ensure that their transactions are safe and we deliver on our promise.
And Frank, I think I'd ask you the same. Right now, it might not really be, rather, most African countries are now trying to accept this. But how is the uptake, according to you, the uptake of e-commerce, different African countries? And what is the trend looking like? You can debunk for us which African countries mostly have come on board and which ones are, still lagging behind because of one reason or another.
That's an interesting question. In Africa, we have some countries that emerging, and others less so. So when you go to Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, you see that e-commerce has become really at the heart of most of the economic transactions. And that means there is a hope, there is a potential in the use of technology. However, there is a difference between using a technology to perform a certain transaction and using a technology as a solution to a problem. There is a difference. Because as of today, you can see something on Instagram, you have a profile on Instagram or another social media platform, and the fact that it connects people, you can also tell someone, hey, I'm selling this on your social media, and someone, oh, give me your bank account, I pay it, here's my address, send it to me. That's an e-commerce, right? But that transaction is not designed to solve a specific problem in which the society or certain community is facing. So that's the difference why, the difference in the way we use technologies to solve our problems.
But at the end of the day, do you feel like social media really is a huge competition for you? Because
no, it is not. It is not, because there is no, entrepreneurship is all about what is the pain that people are feeling and how can I relieve them from that pain. By solving that problem, you create a business. So it's different to making a transaction happen using a certain infrastructure. So what we're doing is we came up with the idea. It's not because we knew how e-commerce works. We knew that there is a problem. By using this kind of technology, we can relieve the market from that pain. So that's exactly what we're doing. In Africa, there is no, like, you've been in Kenya forever. What kind of product do you think are being produced in Cameroon, which you can buy today, you have a business?
From Cameroon?
Yes.
That's a tough one. Actually, I have no idea.
Exactly. A lot going on over there. As a lot going on in Kenya.
Yeah.
But what if we actually have those visibilities?
Yeah.
You are a small, or you don't have a business at all, but the fact that you have a visibility in the market can trigger something in you. You can say, this thing over there is so cheap, but here, this is the price of it. But if I would get it from there, maybe I can make a business out of it. So that visibility in the market is the source of business creation.
Right.
But is a source of opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Right.
And that's how we can create those trade links between Africa, starting within the country. Because when we are in Nairobi, I can ask you the same question. What is being produced in Mombasa?
In Mombasa?
Yeah.
Well, apart from the drugs, on a light note though, in Mombasa, cultural, artifacts and all that, and even the whole, attires.
Exactly. So there are a lot of factories over there producing some great stuff, which you in Nairobi, you don't know at all. Even within Nairobi, we don't know what's being produced in Nairobi. We see products in the supermarket. We don't even know if they're, sometimes when they say locally made, oh, really?
Where was it?
Where was it? We're surprised. So what we're doing is actually we're bringing this manufacturing to the market. Because we know that when people know that this thing is coming from here, from this place, this is the price, that's where people can do business.
Right.
But currently, the problem is we don't even know where those factories are, what are their prices, and even how to buy from them. We have, there are multinational company in most FMCG locally also produce here locally. Then ask yourself, I have cash. I want to start retailing the product made by this company. How can I buy it? If you get this with your click, call me. Because you won't know exactly how to buy from them, and you won't know what their prices are. We are supposed to be in a perfect competition, right? Where the market information is available to everybody. If we get that, we would at least have made our business environment a little bit sane, and that's what Zandaux is working on.
Right. Rema, even as you chime in into what he's talking about, he mentioned a very interesting bit that I've seen something on Instagram, a very interesting watch. Yes, I'm looking for a watch, by the way. I'm looking for a nice, probably a Casio watch, leather straps and all that, and I see it on Instagram. Yeah. It's affordable, in what my wallet has, and whoever is selling tells me, the bank details and all that. This really raises the security question. First of all, another security question, and this is a conversation that really continues in Kenya. I'd probably order something, but then whatever I get is totally different. Talk to us about that. How is Zandaux? The fact that it was launched, so we're really expecting a lot from this platform. So what different will it bring when it comes to the whole security question?
No, exactly. That's where I also started. We need to have the trust of our buyers and sellers, of course. The sellers, because if they send something and they don't get their money, they will not sell much on our platform. And the buyers, if they don't get the product, they will also not use the platform anymore. And that's also why I want to say I don't see the social media as exclusive, as a separate from our platform, right? So people could still sell their products through social media, but also leverage our platform if they would like to also ensure that trust. Because indeed now if you go on social media and somebody says, I have a great watch for you waiting, just send me the money, then you will get it, and you will get something completely different or nothing at all.
Yeah.
That's also sometimes the case. You will not be satisfied. So in the Zandaux platform we mitigate these things by also ensuring that we trace that something is sent and something is received. And before we release any financial transactions, we need confirmation of both. So at the point where a transaction is made, somebody makes an order, we can put it into a separate account, which is not Zandaux's, it's not the buyers, it's not the sellers, but is guarded by a bank. Normally we call it an escrow account. And only when the buyer confirms that he has received its delivery, the funds can be released to the seller. And Zandaux will not be in between those transactions, it will go directly to the seller. So that the seller sees, okay, I've got my amount, nothing is deducted, I actually got what I got. So on both in the end of the seller and the buyer, they get the security that their transaction goes through. Mm-hmm. And we have in the platform all the ways that both the seller and the buyer can see how the process is going. So
in real time?
In real time, yeah.
Right, interesting. So even okay, let me cross it to Frank. And well, earlier you talked about manufacturers and all that. But then, so yesterday you were assuring manufacturers that any product that has a market in Kenya will have a market in the entire continent. Well, in the 2 years, have you had talks with manufacturers? How has these talks have they materialized?
Yes, of course. The truth is, our solution works the way that no one has seen before in Africa. Is a direct link between the producer and the retail sector or institutional buyer or any other bulk buyer. So this makes it like when we reach out to most of our prospects, the first thing is, wait a bit, do you work like the other e-commerce in the market over there? And when you look into that e-commerce, it's a retail e-commerce. Even some of the biggest manufacturers in the market were having stores or still having stores on retail e-commerce platforms. So this actually confused them because the way they knew e-commerce is the different way that when we were reaching out to them, explaining to them, it's like, I don't know e-commerce like that. E-commerce, what I know is you buy from me, you put on your platform, or I put my thing on your platform, you sell on my behalf, directly like in a retail. So this retail e-commerce, which actually the market knew before we brought what we got today, B2B, it was actually confusing a lot to them. They did not understand what our concept meant and how it can work. And that is also the reason why many of the biggest manufacturers in the market still hesitating to adopt our way of working because it will disrupt their sales process. Because they used to sell always via. Mm-hmm. But now we're telling them you can actually sell directly to the retailer. The good thing with that is, first of all, you can handle it. Because looking into the size of your company, you can handle this. Second, by doing that, you're helping not only the community, but the entire market, because people, the retailer will be buying much cheaper and therefore resell also cheaper. And it will help decrease the cost of living in our market. But still, they're doing business for cash. They are like, okay, if we jump in right now, how many we will sell, how would you handle the logistics? And because actually what happened is these distributors, which is okay, they're adding some values, right? This distributor, when they come to sell to the retailer, they're actually making a package. You buy from us, you get delivery for free. But actually, what the retailer doesn't understand is that the difference between the price they're buying and the original price from the manufacturing, which is not far, sometimes behind your own house.
Right.
It's actually more than 60% or 45%. Why?
So does Zandaux cut all that? Or how?
We cut all that because that is the reason why we exist. We want to make sure that we decrease the cost of living, and we go beyond that because we want to tackle the poverty issues. If we help our manufacturers get access to a bigger market, they will start selling big. They will start also become big. And becoming big for a manufacturer means actually a lot of work, because we do not have many manufacturers in our market who operate like 24/7, several shifts. This is what the manufacturing is actually about. This is how in other markets, the manufacturing is actually the source of low qualified jobs. Because when they operate 24/7, shift after shift after shift after shift, it's about it's about labor, right? And this labor is actually the key to reducing poverty in our markets, knowing that Africa is known for being poor.
Oh, yes. And Ruma, let me now come to what you're really now good in. I'm taking a look at Zandaux.com, and shows you what is trending now when you actually, what you'd like to buy, shows you the deal of the day. So it's a whole top quality Unix table there. A gas cooker also shows you the today is popular. It also shows you, the week's popular. This issue, because I mean, your biggest clientele really has to be, the African continent. You're targeting the African continent, right? Yeah. But then there are other, platforms, even from Europe and US, largely, that have been in existence in Africa, really. So how is Zandaux tailor-made for Africa? For Africans to, take a look at such a platform and say, such products I can relate to because, well, I use them as an African. How, in its design, how was it really tailor-made to, be for Africans, really?
Yeah, so first of all, of course, we're looking at the manufacturers and producers in Africa. That's already and target them. Secondly, I think to emphasize again, we are building a B2B platform and not a B2C platform. So the difference is many of the other platforms that are also coming from outside are really targeted for the B2C. But then you're already in the retail space, right? It's not the business to business. So there's already a slight difference in that part. The second part where we will also differentiate is indeed to give everybody the option for really good localization and also ensure that the products you will see on the platform are tailored for you as a buyer, because you have certain needs as a buyer for getting things in. So we'll have advanced more search capabilities, but we'll also include using the recommendation settings of the retailer. Say, yeah, I need these kinds of things. We'll also go out and check what kind of merchants are on the platform and also show, well, these products are available from these manufacturers for you. And these are close by, these are far away, these are the prices, so they can compare what do I want. And even with the potential rating system, they can also choose what kind of quality of things they want to have. Because we also want to prevent to be indeed the kind of AliExpress or Alibaba, just only getting the cheap stuff in many cases. So I can buy in bulk 5 million pens from a Chinese manufacturer for 2 cents, but if I try to use the pens, after maybe a week I have to throw them away. So
the whole chip is expensive, kind of.
that's also a part. So we also want to keep an eye on that people can choose the quality they want to buy as a retailer.
Okay, great. So how many countries have onboarded on the platform in Africa so far?
Yeah, so I have to.
All right, so Frank, even as young, because I'm curious, because I mean, you expected to launch. Well, you launched in Nairobi. You're expecting to see in South Africa, Nigeria, Lagos, and also in Egypt. Yeah. So far, how many countries have onboarded, and why did you choose these specific countries to launch?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We started the business with idea of let's use the existing manufacturing core in Africa in order to alleviate or to fight against poverty, because if the manufacturing is employing and they are big and they have good businesses, good market, they are likely to tap into that pool of labor, and that we have a direct impact on the poverty. So then we ask ourselves, where in Africa do we find more like the biggest cluster of manufacturing? And we identify 4 main countries. It's not that they are the only the country with manufacturing, but at least the level of production over there, industrial production, is higher compared to others. So we identify Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt. And we say, anyway, we as a startup, we cannot be in every African country today. We need to be only in these 4 main countries. The first thing is we motivate the local manufacturer to go online, to join, to list their product. And then we start going to other Africa to encourage them with the local manufacturing also joining, but also starting to buy from other Africa, and other Africa also starting to buy from them. So this is how we started. Right. So far we are in those main 4 countries, and many of the sellers you see on the platform are mostly from these countries.
Right. And just to follow up on that, because last year you were saying, so this platform is targeting to have over 5,000 trade merchants in Egypt, 5,000 in South Africa, 3,000 in Kenya, and 10,000 in Nigeria by the first quarter of 2024. How is that progress so far?
The progress is exactly what we're doing, and then the launch yesterday is also to reassure other local producers who are still hesitating, telling them, hey, water is good, you can jump in. So that's kind of that stream, and we're doing the same like what we did yesterday in Nairobi, the official launch. We're doing it in 2 weeks in Lagos, and 2 weeks from there we're doing it in Johannesburg. 2 weeks after that, we're doing the same in Cairo. So it's about telling those who are hesitating, no, the early birds are enjoying the cool water. It's really cool, jumping, let's do it. It's for our own communities. So we're doing this not really for e-commerce, no. If we use this approach, we are likely to have a very, very good trade and consumptions, the things going down, I mean in terms of price, everywhere on the continent, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter you produce, doesn't matter where you produce. If you produce anywhere in Africa, the African market is yours by right? There is no debate about it. There is only one Africa, right? So you produce somewhere in Africa, you should have access to the entire African market. And access to the entire African market for any manufacturer in any country, that would mean like more than 100 times what you used to target as market before. And think about what that can do into your business. So what we're doing, we're also giving these businesses, hey, there is a new source of growth here. We're giving them another opportunity to grow and get more vision.
Right. And before we take a short break, so Aruma, I'm a businessman in Nairobi. I probably trading watches once more. and I want to buy from, right, I'm being told that we need to we take a short break right now. Right. So before I get your final thoughts, really, so as a business person trading to South Africa, how long does the whole process really take? Even factoring in the distance from a country to the next, how long do I really get the goods?
Depending, of course, it's still business to business wholesale.
Yeah.
So you're used to at least a little bit more time before things arrive. Also because you have to put it into the market yourself. But we start working more and more with also the logistics part, and to ensure that those logistics will also get faster. But depending on how much you buy, if you buy 10,000 watches, you of course need to ship it more in a container, and then you need to do it via a shipping route from at least Kenya to South Africa.
Right.
So that will take some time, of course. But
Right.
Again, it's business to business. It's not like I want to have the watch tomorrow in my part. So you don't expect 10,000 watches in your post.
Right. Before we actually finalize and briefly, even as you have your final thoughts. So this really has to do with the whole Africa Free Trade area and all that. I'll start with you, Ruma. Your thoughts on how Africa really has and trades really. What are your thoughts? How does the climate look like really? Even as you give us your final thoughts.
Well, I see a lot of the countries, of course, trying to improve the part, but I think we will also try to push the envelope as Zandaux to be a reminder to also the governments to make it easier for everybody to trade, because it's in the better benefit for everyone. Mm-hmm. So if we can make it easier by, as said before, trying to ensure that we ease the load of the regulations and also the bureaucratic processes that encounter your business, then we can make a win, but we can also press to say, okay, let's look at your processes. How can we optimize these two so that you enjoy a bigger trade and thereby increasing your economy, right? It's the same script that China has used is, okay, we're gonna start producing, but we're also gonna make the export really easy. Otherwise, nobody wants to buy from us. So,
Frank, your thoughts on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, your expectations on the same really, when it comes to how this platform and its survival in the next decade and so on, even as you give us your final thoughts.
The thought is that it has been a hope for everybody. As it was in the making, we were also planning to launch our platform to come up with this business. Mm-hmm. So it were like, as we were thinking, doing the market research, we hear that working, we kind of had a lot of hope. We even reached out, like, hey, if you guys are going to launch, please consider us that we are bringing more visibility in the same market. It will just be a synergy if we can actually. Up to today, we never spoken directly to them.
Oh, okay.
All the emails are not answered, all the calls are not answered, but at least we know they're doing some great stuff.
Right.
But it is almost the same thing we're doing. But if it were really to happen that way, we would change the way we trade in Africa.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, gentlemen. Hopefully you'll have learned a thing or two when it comes to, the whole B2B e-commerce in Africa, and really this particular platform, Zandaux, as a business person right here in Nairobi, really jumping on this and getting on board on this particular platform. Frank Obambe, CEO of Zandaux, and Dennis Ruma, CTO of Zandaux. Asanteni sana, gentlemen.